A lot of the rules and regulations in the hospital are there to benefit the extreme cases. So the few people who really are going to need to be watched really carefully, or that could be affected if something doesn't happen. Unfortunately, those rules and regulations don't benefit the many. So a lot of the rules and things that they have in the hospital aren't for the benefit of most of us. One of those things is when you come to the hospital, the first thing they do is tell you you can't eat anything. You can't eat, nor can you consume any liquids. The reason why that rule is in place is because of something that happened in 1946. Like, long time ago, that ain't got nothing to do with whether or not it really benefits women today. So there was a report published in 1946 by a physician that found that when women are under general anesthesia, and this is when women are completely knocked out, which pretty much doesn't happen today. I mean, that's super extreme. Most women aren't put under general anesthesia where they're passed out and giving birth at the same time. That's beyond rare. So in 1946, a physician published a report that found that women who are under general anesthesia have a risk of aspirating, and that is throwing up in your mouth and, kind of swallowing back down into your lungs and suffocating during birth. So this rule is there for women who are going to be completely passed out, and that pretty much almost never happens in birth anymore. So it's just not a good rule, and it's dangerous. It's just like telling anybody to go run 10-15 miles on an empty stomach and don't drink any liquids. Birth and labor specifically, lasts a long time, generally speaking. Sometimes people can do a pop out in 1 30 It's some amazing women out there. I'm not one of them. It takes time because your body is going through this very finely tuned, amazing process. And when you tell me not to eat anything, you're not allowing my body to have enough nutrients to get through this process. I mean, we would never tell somebody to not eat 20-25 hours for any reason, much less when you're going through this very complicated process of trying to bring another human being on earth. And so you need a lot of nutrients. You need to be hydrated. And so this is a pretty unreasonable thing to have women do. And some women don't want to eat at all. But most women definitely are thirsty and just need some nutrients. And a lot of times nutrients help your body complete the process. And when you're hungry, you likely feel more pain and you feel more uncomfortable. And so it really doesn't benefit women to tell women that they can't eat. And so they're really preparing you for the worst case scenario from the moment you walk in the door, but it doesn't really benefit you because you generally find yourself tired and not having enough energy to get through the birth. And this is what a lot of people will say who's gone through the experience. My first birth and my second birth, I ate. I haven't had the experience of having to deal with doctors tell me I can't eat. That's one of the reasons why I decided to do it at home, so I can have control and power over my own body. And I never found myself getting tired. I never got to that place of whatever, I'm tired. And a lot of women do. And part of it is not having any fluids and not having any food in your system. And doctors try to deal with this by giving women an IV, but that kind of brings us to the next point. So if I got to be hooked up to an IV, that brings me to the next thing that the hospital shouldn't do. Is confine women to the hospital bed. We were not meant to birth confined, laying down on some bed without being able to move. That's what you do for sick people. Birth isn't an illness, and so we need to stop treating it like an illness. When you're giving birth, the best thing is to be able to feel what's happening and to be able to walk around. When you walk around, and I've had many, many women corroborate this, and for myself personally, laying down was the most painful experience I ever had giving birth. That's when it was painful. So I believe women when they tell me that it's the most painful experience they ever had. And like I said, again, it's how we birth. It's not really the birth in and of itself. It's how we birth. That when I was walking around and kind of being able to move my body and adjust to what was going on with me, with my baby and what was going on and move with my baby, the pain was a lot less. The discomfort was a lot less. So given that we have women strapped down to a bed with IVs and fetal monitors and all this stuff and not being able to move, we actually increase the amount of pain that they're in, and we're working against nature. We're working against gravity. That when you're standing up and you're giving birth, you're helping the baby come down. And so you're laying on your back, which interestingly, they tell you not to do once you get so big in your pregnancy. But all of a sudden, when you're giving birth, for some reason, it's fine to do for 25 hours. It's completely illogical. It really works against your body to actually be laying down. So it's more painful. It's actually more painful for women when they're laying down, confined to the bed. The other thing is we make, or a lot of times they make women push or tell women that, you know, the only way you can push is push in a reclining position. It's the only way you can push. And then doctors tell you when to push. And that's a whole nother problem. Because having had, like I said, 2 natural births, your body knows when to push. Has nothing to do with the doctor. Your body knows. And so sometimes we shouldn't even be pushing it. They immediately tell you to push when you get to 10 centimeters, but sometimes your body's still not ready. Your body still is not ready. And so that is what causes some extra issues, because we're doing everything because they told us to, not because we're listening to our own bodies. And that's the most important thing we need to be doing, is listening to our own bodies. Our bodies know what to do. And it's the longer we have doctors tell us we don't know what we're doing and we can't know what's best for our bodies, we're going to have these outcomes that I previously talked about.